The Depth to Delve Deep by Writer. Chapter 18 The Highlander. Rote leaves the hostel the following morning. He doesn't leave alone. He bemoans having to haul his 2 blue bags, but if he decides to stay in one of the Scottish places he's soon to see, he must. There's another reason. Rote plans to move out of the hostel he's in into another one located alongside the Royal Mile. With a smile, he knows it's his favorite part of town, though with a frown he walks away with his hate. He hates the weight of his freight he's stuck with, but like being born with big balls, he has no choice. He walks with his 2 blue bags towards High Street into the building holding the tour company to buy his ticket. Rote tries to decide on which trip to take. The tour guide representative suggests the best Highland trip of the several routes offered is the one going through Fortingale and Glen Lyon, Pitlochry, Aberfoyle, Aberfeldy, and Aberlady. All the places affixed with Aber are familiar to the novelist Nigel Tranter. There's plenty of novels Rote's read telling the tale of Scotland. Historical books help Rote to thoroughly enjoy traveling through all the places he's been through and about to. He's about to buy the ticket when he has a thought. His mind reminds him about something he reads in a Lonely Planet guidebook. It's about Fortingale and what lives there. It's where the oldest living life form in Europe is, a yew tree. Like the Bo or Bodhi tree is to the Buddhists, that yew tree is to Rote. It's the wood of rebirth that reaches with its roots into the ground, generating new growth while the inside rots. A tree that ages without acknowledgement. And adding to its location in Fortingale is the belief the man who washes his hands of the crucifixion of Christ, Pontius Pilate, is born there, though his vein is in the valley of the Fork River. Rote suspects this conclusion comes after someone reasons a Roman legion registry, linking Pontius Pilate's father, a Roman general, to the area. Ticket in hand, Rote leaves the booking berth, though not before touching the tartan. A tunic-like plaid green-red kilt Liam Neeson wears while playing and portraying Rob Roy. Rote learns the real Rob Roy McGregor is somewhat short and stalwart, with gangling arms furred all over with fiery red hair. Liam Neeson is tall and trim, and like the latter, Rote learns that William Wallace stands strong and tall, yet Mel Gibson, who portrays himself in the movie he directs, Braveheart, is small in comparison. Rote's been moved by both movies. Sometimes he feels he's starring in his own movie. He moves along from the tour company's ticket counter out onto High Street, wondering how they managed to requisition the tartan deployed as Rob Roy's. He's sure to pass by one of the real Rob Roy resting places, for Sir Walter Scott's story of Rob Roy suggests he's buried beneath the church in Fortingale. Rote boards the minibus with a small group of passengers. He places his 2 arm-breaking, bulging blue bags behind the back seat. He sits directly across from a woman. The 2 of them make small talk as the vehicle makes its way apex to the Isle of May, forthwith across the Firth of Forth. The Firth of Forth is the first place of interest by the way of Queensferry, for it spans a bridge, a Scottish stalwart of steel, and it's where Malcolm's Queen Margaret ferry brings pilgrims to Dunfermline Abbey, across the Forth, not far from Inverkeithing. As Rote learns, it's the only public transport across the Firth of Forth for 900 years before the Train Forth Bridge, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the road bridge replaced the ferry, though a ferry still takes tourists over to Inchholm Island to see the seals and ruined abbey aboard the Maid of the Forth. The tour bus stops so they can take it all in underneath the train bridge. It's near Hawes Inn, where Robert Louis Stevenson writes Kidnapped. From there, the passengers get off the bus and take an intriguing trail to Ossian's Cave. It's like a cell. It's a beehive bunker made of stone. It's where legend lives. The legendary poet-warrior, son of fair Finn MacCool, Ossian, becomes a hermit in his hut. It's where he writes poetic life lessons and war stories. A little ways from there, they hike to an 18th century gazebo. The well-to-do of the day lounged there, high on opium amidst the mist of a small waterfall. While in the same vicinity, the group, still on foot, hiked to where the tallest tree in Scotland stands. Small by North American standards. Rote's a bit reticent. He sees all things Scottish sometimes seem to be smaller than the tale, though their lore is not to be ignored. Back on the minibus, they pass by Killen, then Dunfermline Abbey. David I built it. It's the birthplace of Charles I and the burial place of some Scottish kings, like the brass memorial marked tomb of Robert the Bruce. The bus drives by Dunkeld and Dunsinane, where Duncan and Macbeth reigned, then on through the pride of Perthshire, Perth, with the claim of the capital in regards to Old Scotland. It's where St. Columba's entire reliquary is supposedly sent for safekeeping for some reason. Ah, the stories. They stop for tea a little later. Rote welcomes the woman who sits across from him on the minibus to his table. They chat about this and that, though mostly about Scotland and how taken they are with its historical and whimsical wonder. On the road again, they pass by Loch Tay and Loch Katrine, and through the higher hills and mountains. One mountain is the geographical centre of Scotland, and it's flavoured as the fairy hill of the Caledonians, or Schehallien. The bus barrels on and takes an alternate route, due to yet another tree torn from the ground by a windstorm blocking the intended way. They arrive in Glen Lyon. It's where the tiny hamlet of Fortingale is. He sees a few farmhouses and a Menzies clan castle. Rote reflects on last names of some of the friends he has, long before ever thinking about Scotland, let alone travelling there. Menzies, Duncan, MacDonald, and Sutherland. Now here he knows one of his friends would be recognized in name. Perhaps one of his friend's ancestors is connected to the sheen of Sir William Menzies of Ween, who was well with the Wallace and the Bruce, and of course the oldest tree in Europe. Rote can see the yew is fenced in from wantons of destruction, just like the grove of olive trees at Gethsemane, where Christ has his moment of doubt and grace. The beloved Bodhi tree Buddha sits under in India is also fenced in. He's seen photos of it on the internet. He's sure there's something to be said about sitting underneath trees. Or just like Buddha, who has his illumination, so too does Sir Isaac Newton. He gathers gravity when an apple falls from a tree. Rote can see this yew tree is enclosed, though most of the yew's limbs drooping over the fence can be caressed. In one magnetic moment, Rote nimbly breaks free from the minibus to the tree just to touch a limb. And as it touches back, a bit no bigger than the size of a dime, is divinely donated, like alms, into the palm of his hand. Prized, he places it neatly into the safety of his floppy disk holder. It's where the written story of his life keeps him honed in honor. He thinks, if his own words can last with the longevity of this yew tree's Yule tiding, still growing after 2,000 years, then... When he's back on the bus, the beam of his demeanor wonders the woman he befriends. She looks at him somewhat unsure with a sudden shine. He lets her know the cause of his glow, but senses she sees it as a small wonder. The tour continues, leaving the yew behind to look back even further in time to 3000 BC, as the bus bypasses a megalithic standing stone known as the Praying Hands of Mary. The tour bus driver mentions something about how it aligns along the ley line with the Croft Morag stone circle. As they pass it, there's no doubt they do, though Rote wonders what a ley line is. Now on the way back, they pass through Pitlochry, where the guide gives them a half hour to buy a late lunch. He warns them as they step off the minibus. Beware of the scone women, who have no other interest but to talk over tea about scones, while their husbands hide in the pubs escaping the tedium of tea talk. Rote and his newfound friend, who sits across the aisle at the back of the bus, ask if she can sit beside him inside the quaint setting. She's from Switzerland. And after some scones, tea, and talk, they step out to dally around picturesque Pitlochry. He notices the old yet working water wheel. Rote peruses posted signs of jobs tacked on a cork board. Back on board again, they bolt to the next site, where they're running late due to all the detours. They stop for a brief view of the former Queen Victoria's favorite haunt overlooking panoramic Loch Tummel, known as the Queen's View. They continue passing quickly by Dune, where Dune Castle serves as a scene in Monty Python's Holy Grail film. Rote remembers the scene where the knights, rather than using siege hooks to scale the walls, stand there with a stiff upper lip while the French fling feign and disdain, shouting, Your mother is a hamster, and your father smells like elderberries. Soon after the insults, whole cow carcasses come over the castle walls in hopes to intimidate the Grail seekers, instead of the standard stone, spear, and arrow or boiling pitch pine fueled by sallow tallow. Hallowed, the knights many a comical conflicts. Meet Tim, the enchanter, worn in horn, and his terrible tale of the rabid rabbit, guardian of the gateway to the Grail. Rote revels in the roister doister and does homage to another Monty Python classic, The Life of Brian. Always believe in the bright side of life. That he bypassed Stirling, which Rote has a faint view through a twilight of both the Wallace Monument high up on its own mount and Stirling Castle alight with its own overbearing fortress walls. After seeing the sights, it leaves Rote reflecting. He wants to return to Stirling sometime soon, to finish seeing what he intends the day he's blown away. Back in Edinburgh and off the bus, Rote grabs his two scale-tipping, tightly packed, bulging blue bags from the back of the bus. The bus bounces back up. Found with a new friend, he invites her to dinner as they walk and talk to the new hostel. He hones it in earlier as the next place of rest, just off the Royal Mile, not far from where the tour bus stance is.